Hi, fans of high-quality entertainment. Imagine you have to make a list of your 30 all-time favorite albums, but you can only include one album by each artist. So, 30 different artists. And this took me a bit of work, and what I've done is I've taken one song from each of these albums, and on Spotify, I'm going to try and maybe mix the songs together, so it's kind of like a radio show, like on my Patreon channel. And I'll have a free link for anyone that wants to check out any of these albums and, listen to one song from each of these 30 albums that are my favorites. And, of course, I'm missing many great albums, even from artists that, I could only limit it to 30 artists. So there are definitely some great albums missing. But this is the list I came up with, and they're not ranked in any order because ranking's silly. I don't know about you. So here we go. And, I would love your thoughts on any of these albums also in the comment section below. So Blind Faith, like I said, these aren't ranked, but Blind Faith is definitely one of my all-time favorite albums. I remember getting it as a kid back when 58, I guess I was like 10, 11 years old. It's when the album came out. And I'd heard of Eric Clapton. I wasn't familiar with anybody else like Steve Winwood, or even, I don't think I knew who Ginger Baker was at that time. So when I got this, I forget how I got the album, but I wasn't that excited to have the album. But just slowly, I grew to absolutely love it. And so I play it a lot every year since it came out. And the song I've chosen is Had to Cry Today. I know. You're surprised. Sparks. And I was going to choose, my favorite Sparks album changes through the years and even the months. But I've got to go with Kimono My House. It was the very first Sparks album I ever heard. And I've chosen their most popular song. This town ain't big enough for both of us. Blue Oyster Cult. I'm a huge Blue Oyster Cult fan. And once again, this was the very first album of theirs that I heard back in 1975. So I've been a fan for almost 50 years now. And the song I've chosen is Dominance and Submission. Yeah, had to include a David Bowie album, and I don't know. He's got so many great albums, but something about Black Star just really gets to me, because obviously he knew he was going to be dying while he was recording this, and that just makes it even more emotional, I guess. But it's just a fantastic album. And the song I've chosen is Black Star. Lou Reed, once again, this was the very first album I bought by Lou Reed, and I've got everything by him now. I'm just a huge fan, and the song I've chosen is the title track, Coney Island Baby. So that was 1976. Yeah, Gene Clark. It's been maybe a year and a half that I've been familiar with this album, and almost right away it went way up to the top. I just love his vocals. I love the music. There's so many great songs on this album. There's 8 songs on the original, but the one I chose was Lady of the North. Check it out. The Who. I love The Who, and my favorite album by them is Who's Next. I remember buying it as soon as it came out, along with the Guess Who's I think So Long Bannatyne on the very same day. And yeah, so Won't Get Fooled Again. One of the many amazing songs on the album. Led Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti, my favorite Led Zeppelin album. I was going to choose, like Led Zeppelin 1, but this is my favorite. And I've chosen kind of I feel, an underrated song instead of, Kashmir, which most of you should know. But maybe some of you have not heard Sick Again. And like I said, I think it's very underrated. The Rolling Stones, my favorite Rolling Stones album, Sticky Fingers, and my favorite song on the album, Moonlight Mile. And by the way, I've decided to steer away from live albums, or otherwise Genesis Live would be on this list probably, and Grand Funk's live album. Devo. Question, are we not men? Answer, we are Devo. And my favorite song from their debut album, Jocko Homo. That's right, I am a fan of the Sex Pistols. I actually don't have it in my collection at the moment. I lost it somewhere. I have to get it again. But yeah, it's one of the greatest debuts ever. It's I don't even consider it a punk album. I just consider it a great rock album. And it rocks. And yeah, Holidays in the Sun. Canned Heat. I've talked about this album many times. My favorite blues rock band. And this is probably my favorite album of theirs. It's the very first one I bought back around probably 1970 in a cutout bin. And I was kind of familiar with them, going up the country and all that. But yeah, I've played this album hundreds of times. And my favorite song is the kind of comical Sic 'em Pigs. Talking Heads. Scott from the Prog Corner just did his ranking of all the Talking Heads albums, and he loves this album. I won't tell you what it was on his list, but it's my favorite Talking Heads album. And probably my favorite song on the album is Mind. So check it out if you haven't heard it. Frank Zappa, I could have chosen like 2 or 3, 4 albums. Bongo Fury is one. But I've decided to go with Hot Rats. It was the very first time I slowly appreciated jazz or jazz rock. And this is mainly an instrumental, but the song I've chosen is Willie the Pimp with Captain Beefheart on vocals, and one of the greatest guitar solos ever that goes on for about 4 or 5 minutes or longer. Boom, Dylan. Yeah, Slow Train Coming. I remember buying this in 1978 or 79. 79, I think. And I just, like I've said, I'm spiritual. I'm not religious. But this really has, helped me through the years. And I think Bob Dylan's vocals on this are just excellent. And, the follow-up Saved wasn't very good, though. And then I kind of lost interest in old Bob. But, I still love a lot of his songs. But Slow Train Coming is my all-time favorite Bob Dylan album. I almost picked Tales from Topographic Oceans, but the thing is, I want to include all of these in a playlist, and they're really long songs, like 20-minute songs. And I love Relay Air just as much as Tales from Topographic Oceans. So I've chosen To Be Over from the superb Relayer album. Some people aren't a fan, Neil Young fans aren't a fan of this album, but I loved it right away when I bought it. It was a little different, of course, but there's some humor in it also, and I just love the music. So, Computer Age is the song I've chosen from Trance. Yeah, I've played this one a lot too. Johnny Cash, The Man Comes Around, Volume 4. And most people would maybe choose Hurt from this album, but I have chosen Bridge Over Troubled Water, his just amazing cover of Simon and Garfunkel's classic. The whole album is very emotional for me when I listen to it. I know, start throwing rocks and stones, but yeah, I'm a fan of Yoko Ono, and take a chance and listen to this song, What a Bastard the World Is, from her double album, Approximately Infinite Universe. It's a very moving song. And, I know people are going to joke and mock her and all that. That's fine, but I love this album. Had to include Creedence Clearwater Revival and COSMO'S Factory, just hit after hit after hit. But my favorite song wasn't even a hit single. It is Ramble Tamble, the opening song. Just one of the most consistent albums. Just excellent. The Moody Blues, their run of great albums in the 60s, early 70s. And I think my favorite is probably In Search of the Lost Chord. And so I've chosen the really popular song, Ride My Seesaw, because it rocks. Imagine the Moody Blues rocking. The Kinks, Arthur, and the song I've chosen is my favorite from the album, Shangri-La. I love the Kinks. Yeah, the Beatles, Abbey Road. It was between that and the White Album. I love them both, kind of equally. But I've chosen I Want You, She's So Heavy, instead of, Here Comes the Sun. Because I think I Want You, She's So Heavy is my favorite song on the album. Ween. Glenn Kelly's going to be so happy. Yeah, Ween the Pod. I love the albums I've heard of theirs. Pure Guava and Quebec. But I think out of the three, I think the Pod might be my favorite. And I could have chose almost any song, but I've chosen the really rockin' and crazy Sketches of Winkle. Grand Funk. You got to be careful how you say that. Yeah, I like I said, my favorite album of theirs is the live album, but I wanted to just focus on studio albums. So this, along with maybe Survival, is my favorite Grand Funk album. And I've chosen the opening song, Got This Thing on the Move. Captain Beefheart, one of my all-time favorite artists, and definitely my favorite album of his, Shiny Beast, Bat Chain Puller. I do also love the original Bat Chain Puller. And I've chosen the song, The Floppy Boot Stomp. So if you've never heard any Captain Beefheart, check him out because he's awesome. Yeah, The Velvet Underground, White Light, White Heat, and I've chosen Lady Godiva's Operation, even though I think my favorite is Sister Ray, but it's such a long song, and I'm thinking about the playlist. And it's kind of a strange song, kind of creepy, but I absolutely love it. All right, we're nearing the end here. It's the Beach Boys. Yeah, I could have. I don't know what my favorite album of theirs is. Surf's Up, Sunflower, Friends, just so many. But I've chosen Pet Sounds. It was the first album, it took me a long, long time, but it was the first album where I realized, oh my God, this is like a masterpiece. And I've chosen one of the greatest songs of all time, of course, God Only Knows. Sadly, there's only one Beatles in this list, even though I love, John and George and Ringo. Paul McCartney and his Ram album, and my favorite song from the album, The Backseat of My Car. And one final one, I believe. Yeah, I was just thinking, there's Black Sabbath missing, like Sabotage, Master of Reality, and Motorhead, Ace of Spades, of course. But yeah, my final one is the Monkees from their album Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited. And I've chosen the great song Star Collector. So that's it. Those are 30 of my all-time favorite albums and a choice track from each of them, which I hope some of you check out. I'll have a link below. And thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye.